White Gold Corp, we're located in the Yukon and basically specifically in the Dawson district. This is what our country looks like. She's magically in fall colors right now, as Matt said. Forward-looking statement. So the kind of the pieces of this is we got like 4 pillars. Like we got management. So I'll talk about that. And then we have the land package. It's a monster land package. And then we have strategic partners like Agnico and Kinross. And the idea is to flush out new targets in this district. And that's really what we're about, generating brand new targets. This is what the district looked like back in 2007. There was nobody there. Like we started prospecting here back in '96, actually the year of Bre-X. We couldn't do too much though the next few years, but allowed me to actually start thinking about the whole district and research it. So this is what it looks like right now with the claim block. And then you can see the discoveries down in this end. So the idea is that I'll talk about the team. So I'm on the technical advisor. We pulled in Rob Carpenter he was the CEO of Kaminak, and it was me and him who got the coffee project going. We have the Power One team, Dave Nanofrio. So that's the finance group out of Toronto. We started this together. And then we pulled in Jody Gibson a couple of years ago. He was the guy that helped drill off the Underworld resource. So we kind of tried to pull some interesting people that knew the district. And then this kind of gives you a time frame, how quick it kind of took off. 2016, I decided to take all my claim blocks and roll them into one package and approach Power One guys and see if we could make kind of a super company. Something that had a lot of legs, not a one-trick pony. We approached a few of the majors and Agnico jumped in right away by the fall of December of 2016. So they threw in $15 million. And really what it's all about was there was no delineation drilling going on with this. We had a specific program. We do regional recce. If we find good targets, we put 25 holes on it max as a first phase. Usually they're RAP holes or RC. If it has legs, we push it up to a second phase 2, which is diamond drilling. We pump in another $1 million to $2 million into that side. And if it has legs, the objective here is to actually kick it out into a new shell and then basically pump money into that system. And then we'll still run with that one. But the idea is we didn't want to dilute white gold because we have too many projects. Because we watched Kaminak take off with their project. It cost them about $85 million just on that target alone to produce it. So the objective was to do this into another shell. So here's our claim package, everything in orange. Like we own over 40% of the district. It's about 22,000 claims, over 1 million acres. And the unique thing about this district was, this is where basically I've been prospecting for the last 23, 24 years. We have literally over 400,000 soils in this database. We've been doing it the same way. That's how I started. We train our crew. It takes a 2 to 3 week training program to actually take a soil sample. So we kind of create commandos of the team. So the idea is that we're using that database to pick up new targets, but we could, like if we get indicators, it helps us hunt. And so that's what we're playing with. And the idea is to have these 3-stage kind of projects. There's our more advanced, the Golden Saddle, the ARC, the VG, with some resources on it. Then we have the discovery stage, but it always starts with the early stage. So we simultaneously work those 3 kind of stage projects because you have to have the pipeline of the early stage to get to the advanced stage. So that's kind of what we're doing. It's a probability game, really. So because it's like playing the roulette table at Gertie's in Dawson. You put a lot of chips on the table and 1 or 2 are going to basically stick and move along. So, but it's based on science. We're very, very, I'm super strict that we have to have, like it has to have soils, it has to have geophysics, it has to have structure, and it has to have geology. And you have to tick all these boxes before we move on to actually even trying to poke a hole in it. This was this year's budget. We had a $13 million program. 17 million was into our 17,000 meters of diamond drilling. So 10,000 was at the VERTIGO, at that new discovery we made last year. And about 5,000 was delineating, extending the reserves at the White property itself. Then, so that's been accomplished so far. Now we're coming up to bat with these RAB holes, and that's the Wildcats. In a sense, they're actually specific targets, but this is the kind of the blue sky hunting. So we use the RAB, and I'll have basically 35 holes around the VERTIGO discovery outside of the discovery zone that we're fleshing out. And then I'll have 25 holes to poke around the White outside of the resource zone. So that's in prep for next year's diamond drilling. So that's what we're trying to do, is set up the shots for next year. This is with kind of our breakup. It's kind of, the company's unique that way, because like we have started off with Agnico owning 20% and 19.9. Then end up with, we approached Kinross the next year to see if they could sell us back the Golden Saddle, so that we could work it again. And that worked out. So then they become 19% ownership. So they're both equal. Management owns like about 20%, and the rest are some good insiders and strategic investors. Because what I was trying to do is, if I'm going to roll all these eggs in one basket, the worst thing that could come is we find a good deposit and we get taken out for one project, and we lose control on all the other projects. So we've kind of basically made a deal with Agnico and Kinross that there's no hostile takeovers, but management held enough paper. So they all agreed to this, and that's the idea, is that we are the explorers for them. If we find something, we kick it out, and then they could put it into production. And the cool thing about it is, now there's two majors on our team. So if they want to pool their resources together, it's they're working together. How that works, that's up to them, but we don't take preference, as we told them. So they could go do this in the back room. This is what we're doing now. When we picked up the White, this was the original kind of pit area. It was originally, Underworld had it at 1.5 million ounces. Kinross bought it, downgraded it to 1 million ounces of economical ore. So the economics there is everybody wants to see 2 million ounces. That's what Agnico and Kinross want to see. So we've now, over the last year and a half, actually chiseled that back up to 1.5 million ounces with our 43-101. So this year's drilling, back at the napkin calculations, I'm a prospector, so not the guy making the real numbers, but we should be around 1.7 to 1.75. That's what we're hoping. So then that gives me next year to continue on to push it past the 2 million mark. And where we're looking for this ore is we made a new discovery called the Golden Saddle West here. So you can see it's along the same structure, and Jody picked some good holes, and we had some good results in that. Now this arc that's sitting right next door, right here, it's a different kind of ore. And that's kind of the part of the game changer in that project is it was graphitic, it had some arsenic in it, and people were worried about it. And so nobody touched it. So working with Agnico, we were ready to go in because it's a big soil anomaly. It's about 4 or 5 kilometers long. When we went to try it last year, they said, no, slow down. Put a couple of drill holes into it for diamond drill holes. Get us the rocks back to Quebec, and we'll do the met work for you guys. So they did the met work, and it looks like with a little bit, the gold sounds like it's in the graphite. With a little bit of pre-treatment, it's 90% recovery. So the gloves were off now to chase this arc style. So this summer, I put some detailed grids, did some new trenching, probing, ground geophysics, and we're just going to go to bat now and drill some RAB holes in that right now in the next month. We got 25 holes budgeted, and the idea is to set those shots up. We will have some good success because we're right down to the 5-meter detail now. We know where the system is and which way it's dipping. So we'll plug some holes with the RAB, and then I do the downhole televiewer. So then we get an oriented picture, and then we could get a good idea of what we're up to for next, basically, spring. So that's kind of the idea for that project. Last winter, we picked up another project, because here's the White on this side of the river. We picked up another one of my old projects from Comstock, but this is the VG zone. It actually had a 230,000 ounce resource under it. So it's the same kind of style ore as the Golden Saddle, But so it's on the other side of the river. So we don't actually count that as our resource on the Golden Saddle or the white property itself side. So we plugged about 5 or 6 more holes. I think it was 8 RC holes to expand just a little bit more of the resource. But we're just going to plug away and get that built in a little bit. But it's not our primary focus. I call it the bonus ounces. Once we get past the 2 million, Agnico will want those ounces also, if those are the guys picking it up. This was the new discovery last year that got everybody rocking and rolling. This VERTIGO. It's in a known placer camp. As Matt says, sometimes the placer guys, we're actually, we're hunting just above them. So here's a classic one, 100 years old, or 100 years of placer mining, and we're finding these high-grade stuff right on surface above the placer gold fields. You had some crazy numbers last year, but 30 meters at 22 grams. Ends up, those were down dip holes. So, but the idea is that we had some crazy numbers. It was a different beast than the white and the coffee. Welcome to the Yukon. It's like we're just starting to understand this district. So we plugged away, and that's where we did this 10,000 meters of drilling. The first 7,000 meters was kind of, I call it factory drilling. It was 3 lines, 100-meter pad spacings, 2 holes per pad, just to get the geometry to see what was kind of going on. Because we're finding these high-grade structures up to 1 ounce to 2 ounce to 3 ounce material across 1 to 5 meter sections. So we wanted to see how many true structures were in there. So we outlined about 6 of them. They're still narrow, but they're nice and high grade. So that's kind of but we had 2,500 ounce or 2,500 meters to go hunting with, as I call it. And so the geos could be geos instead of factory workers. And then they started running around trying to look for the blowout zones. So we have a bunch of those holes coming. And then meanwhile, I'm still hunting on the periphery and all around the project with these 35 RAB holes and all these little mini grids that we're going to follow up on in the next month. Because I think it is a little belt. Serendipity has it because we have our stage, like our early stage, continue on with regional soils and exploration. And we tripped this thing popped out of within 15 clicks from the VERTIGO, but again, right above the Placer Creek. And it was 100,000 ppb soil anomaly. It was kind of like it blew the machine and the ICP machine. So we called the lab up, and they said, well, we were waiting for your call. And we ran it 3 or 4 times. It's true. So we fired assayed. It's 113 grams in a fire assay. But the idea is that, so we just dug a quick little hole on it, a hand pit, and it had a bunch of VG. It's a different beast. It looks like it's tied with magnetite. We're not sure if it's a skarn or what it really is, but I'm on my way in there on Monday, and I got a little mini digger hole that I'm personally going to be digging this thing up. We want to see what's kind of going on there. So we'll get that ready. Hopefully I could pop a hole into there by the end of the season. That's the goal. So, because it's so close to all the other action. Because what we're really trying to do with the RAB is kind of get an idea what next year we should be doing. And RABs cost us about 1/3 the price of diamond drilling up north in the Yukon. And the beauty of it is, especially this year, we actually had a kind of mini drought. We had no snow last winter. So just on this VERTIGO, we had to go 3 kilometers out just to get enough water for the diamond drills. So when we use RAB, we use air compressors. So it's perfect for working ridge tops, and especially later in the season when it's getting cold. So that way, that's our kind of new hunting tool. So I touched base on a little bit on the Golden Saddle West there that we're picking up just over here. Then we picked up, this is on the white property again. And then we've got another thing called the Ryan Surprise that we're talking about. But you can see the grades, 24 meters from last year of almost 2 grams. And then we hit, here's this Ryan Surprise that was by an old Ryan showing from these quartz veins. But the idea that we tapped into it last year, and we're getting some really nice grades, 6 meters at 20 grams and stuff like this. So we went back in there this year and they drilled a bunch more. I forget how many drill holes because that's not my department. But they basically were still waiting on those results. So we should have, that's where we're trying to get this hurdle past this 2 million ounces. So that's kind of what it's about. And then, yeah. And then nobody really talks about everybody's favorite project before was the bedding. So last year we poked a hole, 50 meters of the Grand Plus, but we did a little bit of work this year, but we'll get to it next year. So that's pretty well about it.
Thank you very much, Shawn. We have no time for questions, sorry.
Okay.